Globalization has been one of the most hotly debated topics in international economics over the past few years, between a side that has been brainwashed into believing in it, and the side that saw through its lies and will help you open your eyes to its destructive nature. Dear audience, members of the jury, and opponents, good morning to you all. It is such an honor for me to be able to stand here in front of such a beautiful audience in order to debate this following subject. Globalization has done more harm than good, and we stand for this motion. And since I'm the first one to pass from my team, I have to prepare for them an intelligible ground, far from any ambiguity or imprecision. And when we say precision, we say definition. What is the definition of globalization? To put it simply, globalization is the opening of political, economic, social, cultural, and geographic borders of countries, and thus making the world a global village. Now, don't get too full of yourselves, dear opponents, and conclude from this superficial definition that globalization is this really nice thing that will help the world become more connected and encourage economic growth and investment and trade and so on. But those are lies. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, those are all lies to trick us, to brainwash us and profit from us. Because if you read along those lines, you will discover a harsh truth full of abuse, violence, exploitation, inequality, colonization, and much, much more. To help you understand why globalization has caused more harm, let's dive deep into it and try to understand its role. Each country has its sovereignty, meaning that it has the control over its own government. And it has the control over its own government, and it also controls which goods and people are allowed to enter its territory. And it also controls which ideas and cultures can enter its borders. And now here comes the role of globalization. By deleting those borders and making the world a global village, countries no longer have sovereignty, and this is a disadvantage to poor and developing countries. They are oppressed and dominated by strong economies and developed nations. Their ideas and cultures and goods are imposed on them, making them lose their identity. Multinational companies cannibalize small businesses, and they take advantage of small workers and pay them less than $1 a day. It is outrageous, and thus making the world a jungle. The strong eats the weak. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time for you to open your eyes to the harsh truth and face only facts, hard objective facts, that globalization was created in favor of strong economies and developed nations to dominate the world and exercise their power on ideas and cultures on us, making us their own slaves, and then brainwash us to believe that it is for our own good to just give in and obey them. And don't get affected by all the fine speeches that will be delivered by our dear opponents, because they are all just made up to hide the real face of globalization. Thank you.
Every human, country, and culture in each corner of the world is the bearer of a message. We welcome all the messages of the world, and I have free will to judge what is right from wrong to me. Ladies and gentlemen, dear audience, juries, government, and classmates, welcome to my world. I cannot tell you how glad, thrilled, and honored I am to be here in front of you guys and on this amazing stage as an LRQ Eagle, free to debate today's topic and hopefully much more. Therefore, in today's episode, our motion is globalization has done more harm than good. Now we, as today's opposition, strongly believe that it is not true. But before we come to our actual argumentation, let me first go back to what the Prime Minister said. And so, since she did not bother to define every single word and preferred to leave you in darkness, allow me to be the light that will enlighten your day and give you way more precise knowledge. First of all, according to Pi.com, an indeed very reliable source, globalization is the process of bringing people from all around the world to expand foreign, cultural, economic, and political activities. It refers to the movement and integration of goods and people around the world. Now, following this very rational definition, I'm afraid I cannot see any harm in it. But since not only these words are strange to my dear opponents, but they also find them hard and difficult to understand. Math students, but with no logical thinking. Don't get me wrong, I'm not in any case trying to criticize your person, but your point of view seems so impossible to defend that I still cannot conceive the discomfort of your position. However, to make things clear for you, let me take y'all back to the origin of our position. Everything started in 1492, in a world where darkness, poverty, and ignorance reigned, in a world that changed into a better place after globalization, in a world where people decided to change their egoism into generosity by exchanging their ideas, thoughts, products, or even inventions. And so you, dear opponents, are telling me that a world without globalization would have been better than a world with it. Pardon me for laughing at these nonsense ideas, and I'm sorry to break it out to you, but I'm pretty sure that even you are not convinced with your own words. Because guess what? Without globalization, these two young ladies over here wouldn't have been able to stand in front of you and express their opinions, because guess what? All Morocco used to say before globalization to women was "Kuzint al-mara." And guess what? A world without globalization would certainly be a world where we use the notion of myself against the whole world. So unless you guys want to wear jillaba every day, eat kskso, and literally forget about the burgers, pizzas, and charming jeans, then I do not get your point. With that being said, your words means that you guys are non-believers of our school's philosophy. Today better than yesterday, and tomorrow's going to be better than today. So if you guys want to go back to 1491, the absolutely perfect world before globalization, then go ahead, do your best and ruin our society. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear members of the jury, dear opponents, good morning to you all. Please imagine two flower bouquets, one with different kinds of flowers and the other one with only one kind of them. Beautiful opponents, can you tell the difference between these two bouquets? I'll answer this question for you all. The difference between them is the diversity. In the first one, each flower has its own color, its own shape, and its own smell. While in the other one, there is only one color, one smell, and one shape. This bouquet has lost its diversity, its uniqueness, and its excitement. It's just the same thing with our cultures. If you take the world in your hands like this and take a wide look at it, you'll find a diversity of cultures. Let's not go far and take our country as an example. We all know that Morocco is a developing country with a large diversity of cultures. There is Hassani, Amazigh, Jewish, Islamic, African, Andalusian culture that have consorted to make our Moroccan culture. And it's this diversity that makes of Morocco an attractive country and one of the most visited countries in the world. In this globalized world, cities have become clones of each other, and people have converged into fake stereotypes. Gone are the unique cities that carry so much history and culture in every corner. Lost are the enriching cultural differences that make society uniquely what it is. Now Morocco looks like Spain, London looks like Paris, which looks like Madrid. Ladies and gentlemen, we are losing one of the things that count the most. It's our identity, the uniqueness in us that makes us special and allows us to stand out from a crowd. Globalization has tried to unify cultures and implicitly burn their diversity and their uniqueness. Opponents, do you still think that globalization has done more good than harm, even though it is erasing our culture, our identity? If your answer is yes, then please do not ignore this fact. Globalization is pushing society to let go of their unique culture and adopt a unified, fake, money-driven one. Opponents, since we're still at the beginning of our debate, please do not make a wrong move and try to convince this adorable audience with your illusions. Because if you dare to do so, my team and I will be right here to put an end to your silly acts. Thank you.
It has been said that arguing against globalization is like arguing against the laws of gravity. I think Kofi Annan said it best. Good morning, adjudicator, timekeeper, opposing team, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, coming at us with your identity crisis arguments and colonization and cultural loss, that's just eccentric. It is a common mistake to think that globalization will lead to forming one single culture, washing out the different cultures existing all over the world. Culture is formed of layers. Culture is formed of layers, and as such it has been often compared to an onion. The outer layers are more visible and were described by Geert Hofstede as symbols, rituals, and heroes. The core of every culture is the set of unwritten values that determine whether a community or a nation behaves in a certain way or another. Think of culture as a giant spinning onion, approximately as the same size of planet Earth. The linear velocity of the Earth's rotation at the surface is roughly 1,000 miles per hour. The linear velocity of Earth on its core is only 1 mile per hour. Similarly, culture changes at its surface more than it changes at its core. The superficial layers of culture may be moving towards one single culture, but the core differences are still there, pretty much intact. Anyway, you get the picture. You think that culture is affected by globalization, while we think that culture is affected by evolution. Your belief system doesn't have to change just because of the things that change in your life. You are responsible of your own choices. So there is no shame in fully appreciating where you came, as well as appreciating the life you have made while discovering different cultures. You have to give yourself room to be more flexible. So I don't believe that we should build a fence around our country. Now I'll move on to a little experience that you'll help me with. I'll ask one of you to take your phone, please, and show it to me. Can you do it?
I'm sorry?
Can you show me your phone?
My phone?
Yes.
Why would I do that?
Take out your phone, please, as fast as possible.
No, I don't have my phone.
Can someone of the audience please bring me his phone?
This is so awkward.
Please, can I ask you which brand is your phone?
Which one?
Brand. Is it Samsung or? Oh, iPhone. It's an international brand as far as I know, and it's not something that your country has created. Can you open your phone and show me the apps you have? I can see Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, as well as Netflix. Cool. Guys, I really like your pants, but since you love your culture that much, why aren't you wearing jilabas, or why aren't you wearing tkshitas and qaftans? If you think that globalization has done more harm than good, then why are you wearing suits? I know that one of your members loves coffee and drink it on a daily basis, but do you know that the coffee beans that you drink every day aren't from your country? They are exported. I mean, it just shows that you haven't thought the issue thoroughly. So, no, it's not some stupid conspiracy. It's not about anyone's ideology. It's not some stupid and evil force that is here to control the world. Thank you.
Opposition. I heard you saying that globalization makes it easier than ever to access foreign cultures. Okay, but does it really help you discover new cultures? Or does it make you destroy your own one? Isn't diversity what makes us live in a beautiful world? And wouldn't it be a bit boring to live in a world where there is the same culture everywhere you go? I believe that the answer to this question is a big yes. Ladies and gentlemen, jury members, opponents, welcome to this debate. Globalization is beneficial, yes. It is beneficial, but the question is to whom? To whom is it beneficial? The answer to this question is as clear as the sun. Studies have shown that 26 people have money of the entire world. And do you know how they acquire such wealth? Well, by planting industries in the poor countries and forcing them to manufacture things that they can't even afford. By bullying the poor, by oppressing them so that they can't have any other choice than to work for them. A concrete example to what I just said is that 930 million workers in the Asia-Pacific region are facing vulnerable employment. They are spending long hours working and getting paid just enough to survive. Ladies and gentlemen, globalization is a form of colonization that prevents the development of third world countries. And to understand this thing, all we need to do is look back at history. During the 17th century, powerful countries invented colonialism, which happens when a country or a nation takes control of other lands, regions, or territories outside of its borders. Usually, it is a more powerful and richer country that takes control of a smaller and less powerful one. Oppressed countries, in this case, are forced to consume goods that are brought by their colonialists. In return, they give up their own productivity, which leads to high revenues for the colonialists and exploitation for their colonies. You should also know that globalization is something created by developed countries to serve themselves. We live in a world where there is no justice or equality, where the bullies will have the biggest part of cake, and where the not very developed countries will have little pieces of cake or nothing at all. But we don't protest, and we don't seem to care, because they calm us. They shut us down by saying that they care about us, by saying that cake isn't healthy, while they're the ones eating from it. Might seem a bit exaggerated, but the truth is that developed countries and their multinationalities companies will come to countries like ours, and since we are obliged and restricted to think that globalization is the only road to development, we'll welcome them with milk and dates and give them tax exemptions and facilities so that they finally accept to stay in our country. But since when do bullies help us? The answer is never. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they won't help us. They will benefit from our resources, and once our resources finish, they'll disappear. Ladies and gentlemen, globalization is beneficial, yes, but it isn't as beneficial to powerful countries as it is harmful to the weakest. Thank you.
As Dalai Lama has once said, I find that because of modern technological evolution and our global economy, and as a result of the great increase of population, our world has greatly changed. It has become much smaller. However, our perceptions have not evolved at the same pace. We continue to cling to old national demarcations and the old feelings of us and them. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. In today's global economy, everyone is accustomed to buying goods from other countries. Electronics from Taiwan, vegetables from Mexico, clothing from China, cars from Korea, and even skirts from India. Most modern shoppers, including our dear opponents, take the made in a foreign country stickers on their products for granted and forget that practically every single thing that we use in our daily life is from another part of the world. According to EdTech Review, as education has an important place in shaping a society, globalization has to be connected with education, and global activities have a deep impact on it. Globalization of the world economies is leading to increased emphasis on internationalization of the subjects included in a course of study in school. It also creates the opportunities for new partnerships in research and teaching with agencies and institutions all across the world. Global education interconnects methods of teaching from worldwide systems to encourage the international development of environmental sustainability, as well as contribution toward fortifying global industries. These educational initiatives prioritize global access to school from primary to university levels, instigating learning experiences that prepare students for multinational leadership roles. Let's take our school as an example. It has become international. And I myself, I'm taking part of the double diploma program. And thanks to globalization, I'm getting new knowledge and I'm on the steps of realizing my dream and getting into my dream university. Globalization and education then come to affect one another through mutual goals of preparing young people for successful futures, during which their nation will grow increasingly connected. Globalization enhances the student's ability to acquire and utilize knowledge. Globalization also enhances the ability of learners to access, assess, adopt, and apply knowledge, to think independently, to exercise appropriate judgment, and to collaborate with others and make sense of new situations. I believe we all have studied Newton's laws, even Pythagoras' theorem. And do you really think that without the globalization of science, you'd have the knowledge you have here? According to our world and data, most of people living in our current world have experienced the benefits of globalization. The expansion of foreign trade has meant that vaccines and antibiotics produced in a handful of countries have been widely used all over the world to eradicate diseases and treat deadly infections. Let's take our family members and teachers as an example. Most of them have already taken the COVID-19 vaccine shot that has been produced in another part of the world. Since the 90s, life expectancy has increased in every country in the world, and global average life expectancy has more than doubled. Globalization was also a key driver of unprecedented economic growth, and as a result, we now live in a world with much less poverty. And globalization also breaks the boundaries of space and time.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you watched the movie I Accuse? Because that's exactly what I'll be doing now. I accuse these four ladies for saying some stupidities. First of all, the leader of the opposition said that without globalization we wouldn't be able to stand in front of you today, which is agreed. Yes, without globalization we wouldn't be able to debate in English. We would have debated in Moroccan dialect, Arabic. We wouldn't have needed to learn other languages just because their countries are powerful. Also, couscous and jalaba are not a bad thing. I don't see what's bad about it. I mean, you hate your own culture. I'm not even surprised. Second of all, deputy leader of the opposition, we are not against globalization because we don't like it. We are against it because we like it. That's the problem. We are going to their bait. We are eating their bait, walking into their traps. And that's the problem. That's inevitable. That's irreversible, but certainly harmful. Ladies and gentlemen, globalization, a term that means the total dependence of each another in a world where science and economy have reached the climax. A total dependence by which whole societies were constructed, a way of life, an ideology that pleases the greed of the man. The man, ladies and gentlemen, yes, that selfish, greedy, opportunist human being who will not even think twice when it comes to getting what he wants, even if it's all at the expense of millions of people. You might hear these four ladies say talk about the benefits of globalization in humanity, human rights, and how it's not actually that harmful. But ladies and gentlemen, these are all lies, straight lies. In the times of globalization, the relations between countries is not going to be friend-friend. They are going to be dominant and dominated, where big countries want to share the spoils between them, and the rest...
I'm sorry, POI.
Not taken, I'm sorry. Where the rest...
I mean, as I know, you don't have the
I don't
right.
have the time, I'm sorry.
You don't. Yeah, you don't have the right to deny the POI.
I have the
All
right to deny the POI.
You do not have the
You're
right
wasting my time. Anyway, okay, go ahead. I'll respond to it later.
Just for the point of information, I did not say that all of you cannot stand in front of them and express your opinion. I was talking about the two young ladies because none of you can deny that women in Morocco, Moroccan women before globalization, were not oppressed by the society. Also, for the little clarification, since my team and I are very skeptical, can you please cite your sources? Where did you get these informations and are they reliable?
In this world, even the blind can see that it is true. It is stupid to just close your eyes and listen to the voice. Also, thank you so much. You said that not all of us have the chance. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. Only just a drop in the ocean. I mean, how many schools in Morocco do have the chance to debate in English?
For you, women are a drop in the ocean.
God. Anyway, I was saying, what was I saying? I was saying yes. Where big countries want to share the spoils between them, and the rest should be satisfied with crumbs. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, just think about Morocco, your beloved country. Are you gonna tell me that Morocco, being a third world country, is gonna fit in the elite? No. All we do is follow their steps. At no point of time did they even care about us, because all they care about is the benefit. All they care about is to make us forget about our culture, our traditions, to contain us, to hypnotize us, to make us believe that life is only better abroad, to brainwash us so we can buy and only accept what they want, so we can be 100% dependent, 1,000%, so that in the end, when they fall apart, everything goes with them. The crisis of 1929, the crisis of 2008. Does that ring any bells? Of course it does, ladies and gentlemen. 1929 and 2008 are proof that when the United States of America made a mistake, the whole world paid for it. But do you know who paid for it the most? Definitely not the USA. It was the weak countries of Africa and so on and so on.
Dear audience, I stand here in front of you to tell you about a phenomenon that everyone is so quick to dismiss as bad, but the truth is that no one can deny that globalization has been very beneficial to a lot of countries all over the world. Take China, for instance. China has been a country unwilling to open up its borders on other countries, a country closed up on itself, and its economy has been very weak. Yet, the day it decided to open up its economy skyrocketed, and now it is one of the countries with the best economies all over the world, competing with some of the best economical forces, such as the European Union and the United States. Globalization, although it has only been recently spoken about, is a concept that has been around for years, centuries, ages. Countries all over the world since the dawn of humanity have all been striving to annihilate borders, to bring people closer together, to minimize distance.
POI.
Yes?
You said that China is a good example of how a weak country has benefited from globalization. Don't you think that China is one example out of hundreds?
That's a lie. Japan, China, literally every other country in Asia. Different.
Are you kidding
Would you
me?
let me speak, please? Thank you.
I said the same thing. Okay, thank you so much. You just proved that Japan was a country. Okay, thank you so much.
Would you let me speak? Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
I was saying, before I was rudely interrupted, globalization is a concept that has been around for centuries, ages. People all over the world has been striving to annihilate borders, to make people closer together, to minimize the cost of importation, exportation, and the cost of production thanks to global value chains. Thanks to global value chains. And you see, opposing yourself to globalization is opposing yourself to development, to a better world, a world where rich countries can continue to strive, and where poor countries have all the chances to compete against stronger countries. And I see you come in with your argument, oh, we were all brainwashed into this. Oh, we don't have any other choice but to adhere to globalization. But the truth is, You have every choice to not adhere to globalization if you so wish to do. You can boycott products that aren't global. You can boycott products that aren't local. You can do it if you want to. You can give up globalization as you want to, but the truth is you would never give up something that has been in your best interest since the day you opened up your life on this world. You would never give up something that has been so beneficial to you. You would never give up your phones. You would never give up your luxurious lifestyle. You would never give up your clothes. Everything globalization has done for you, you would never willingly give it up. If you truly cared about your identity, about your cultural identity, you wouldn't let it go away. Nothing would take it away from you, especially not an economical movement. And here you are telling me I shouldn't adhere to globalization. Yes.
I'm sorry, I just said that we don't like, we're not against globalization because we don't like it. We like it, but it seems like you just rehearsed, or you just say what you rehearsed like a bit. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, what?
Exactly, pretend.
You aren't against globalization. Oh my God, okay, whatever. Look at yourself. Here you are telling me I shouldn't adhere to globalization when you yourself aren't doing any better. Truly the pot calling the kettle black. The irony is absolutely immaculate. So before you come and give me a lesson telling me about why I shouldn't adhere to globalization, check for yourself. Thank you.
First of all, how can you say that if we had the choice, we could refuse globalization when it affects all of our lives, which is, by the way, another disadvantage of globalization. And also you said that because of globalization, we could benefit from COVID-19 vaccines. Did you know that because of globalization, coronavirus came to our country? How ironic. Dear opponents, all of this time you've been babbling about the advantages of globalization, which, by the way, only the small minority benefits from these advantages. Globalization actually promotes income inequalities, disproportional wealth, and treats that benefits parties differently. As a matter of fact, a recent report from Oxfam says that 82% of the world's generated wealth goes to only 1% of the population. And if you're that egotistical to defend this 1%, then you really shouldn't be taken seriously. Thank you.
All right, so since the beginning, you guys have been saying that globalization has done more harm than good. Well, trust me, we know it's literally your position, but I'm afraid I did not hear any logical arguments. Plus, you guys mentioned that globalization makes countries lose their identities. Thus, what you guys seem to forget is that this cultural diversity you're talking about is based on the conviction that each country has a unique message to deliver to the whole world. Thereupon, dear ironically rational humans, we conclude that humanity was and is still enriched by globalization. The real question here is why, how, and where, and this is exactly what my friends and I have been answering through our interventions. Thank you.
You've been talking all this time about logical arguments. You know that we are still smart and we know logic more than you. In addition, since you've talked about clothes, did you know that what you're wearing now was made by small hands full of bloody pits of a small kid that has been exploited because of globalization? And did you know also that worldwide 218 million between 5 and 17 years are labor children, according to the ILO, the International Labour Organization? Opponents, put yourself in these children's shoes. But I think even if you do, you won't feel how pitiful and miserable their situation is. Here is a piece of advice for you guys. Stop throwing your magical potions on our adorable audience in vain.
First of all, thank you, Amal, for giving me your phone. At least you're not as rude as our government whip who declined to give me his phone. Well, guys, I'm a fan of your group and of your team, and during your last debate, you talked about how marvelous the COVID-19 vaccine is and how it saved and improves our lives. Yet, it is imported. It's not your country that made this. Thanks to globalization, you got the COVID-19 vaccine. We're sorry we went sugarcoating everything we're saying because we're not a bakery. And like you, we are here to tell people the truth and not to magnify as you're trying to show as harm or such nonsense. Thank you.
Member of opposition, I heard you say that globalization is beneficial for economic growth and that it enables freedom of exchange of goods and ideas. But what freedom are you talking about? A freedom where the developed countries will benefit and where the people of weak countries will suffer and lose their jobs. Sorry to bring it to you, but this isn't freedom. This is control and colonialism of those countries. This is a colonialism where you don't know that you are a colony. They'll be pretending that they are there to help you, hiding their secret desire of having you again as a colony. Ladies and gentlemen, in light of such controversies, it is important for us to listen to the voice of reason and make a difference between what is good and what is bad. Thank you.
First of all, it's you being hypocrite for me. Just so you know, being mathematics students doesn't make you any smarter. And I think we all saw this. Because as far as I know, we have cited all of our sources, but you haven't. As they say, we can find the whole universe in a grain of sand, meaning what is true to the whole system is true to each of its parts. We can view this total integration, interdependent, total mutual guarantee through our own biological body that is globally integrated. If the cells, organs of the body didn't keep mutual guarantee, making calculations for the sake of the whole body above, and many times against individualistic calculations, then disease, cancer would appear threatening the life of the body. And you are like cancer cells right now. Thank you.
Deputy Prime Minister, I think you said twice. I think I heard you the first time. You said twice that thanks to globalization now we have low cost for products, low cost for school. But do you know what else? We also have low cost for human beings. Thanks to globalization, human beings are cheap. But that doesn't matter to you because to the Deputy Prime Minister, a product is much more valuable. How ironic. Ladies and gentlemen, the world has become so corrupted, so polluted, so unhuman. Well, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to say that we're not going to eat from your fruit, a malefic, poisonous fruit that smells like the sweat of a working man. Instead, we have our own fruit, much more ethical, much more substantial, much more moral, and on top of that, it is much more delicious. Mwah! Buonissimo. Thank you.
You see, dear opponents, opposing yourself to globalization is opposing yourself to development. Globalization is the only proper logical response in front of a capitalistic society such as the one we currently live in. And you can't do anything else but globalization unless you want to come back to communism and all the atrocities and chaos it has caused, or come back to a more primal set of life if that's what suits you. Now then, earlier, I guess the government the government whip has talked about, has came back on my member's argument about the girls being able to debate. I think he completely missed the point because what we're talking about here is that there's no way you're gonna come and tell me that girls haven't been oppressed up until a couple of years ago where we started, where we were able to finally finally speak our minds. And had globalization not happened, this would have probably not happened yet, and we would have all been probably at home, unable to speak our minds. Thank you.